axe to grind it.
I know. I might do it just because I can't help myself.
John, I wrote about something and he nitpicked with me about some little detail, and I'm like, well, I'm grinding my axe. You go ahead and correct it.
And welcome everyone to the Tuesday night marathon, the final two rounds of the January TNM. I'm Abel Talamantes, chess director at the Mechanics Institute, and joining me as always is FIDE master Paul Whitehead. And here we are, the last two rounds. This is round 5, and on the top board we have Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman taking on National Master and Mechanics veteran Mike Walder. How's it going, Paul?
All right, I'm okay. I'm going to try to provide some decent commentary for everybody out there.
And Paul was telling me he's going to make up in commentary what he lacked in the arena as a player. Because
Some bad chess
it's a
today.
bad chess, but he's saying his commentary is going to be spot on to make up for it. So we look forward to that. So this is where we're at here in the beginning with Lenderman and Walder, and on board 2
You
we
theoreticians.
we have a fantastic matchup with Grandmaster Gadir Guseynov and FIDE Master Kyron Griffith, and they look like they're trading off a ton of pieces already here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this has come out of some kind of Karakan.
That is right, and that is Kyron's specialty right now.
I mean, the chance Gadir should probably not be able to grind this out to a win, and it's very possible that they could just. Kyron's playing so well lately, and that this could just be agreed drawn in a little while.
And actually, the this is an important thing because Kyron, if he can get a draw with, and there's Lucio going crazy. She has like no civility whatsoever. If Kyron can get a draw here, the match between Lenderman and Walder is really important because last week Lenderman and Guseynov agreed to a draw, right?
Grandmaster draw.
The GM draw, but you sort of figure you do that because they had planned on winning their final couple of games. But if Kyron can get a draw here with Guseynov, that sort of interrupts the plan there. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Indeed.
But we also have a nice matchup here on board 3 with FIDE Master Eric Yuhan Lee playing white against Mechanics Volunteer and expert Tejas Mahesh.
Nice bishop on d5. It's probably eventually going to be taken and replaced by a pawn, and this looks nice for white. We're going to have to see how this plays out.
And
That can try to undermine the pawns maybe by throwing in b5 at some point, but I like white here at this point.
And this was a matchup you and I talked about right before. This is Jonah Bush against Nicholas Wang. Two mechanics, very solid, expert level players. And we thought this would be an intriguing match. And here we are, Jonah Bush white and Nicholas Wang playing black.
Jonah's shown himself to be a player that can play with really good players. I mean, and Nicholas is, yet to make the breakthrough that we're anticipating for him to jump from, I don't know, what's his USCF? He's a expert.
Yeah, it's about the same. I think he's high 1900s.
And the same with Jonah.
And Jonah's also high 1900s.
So this is kind of an even match, but Nicholas is just a kid, so he's got a lot of potential. But Jonah's that both of these players have improved a lot lately, it seems to me.
And both
But they
play.
in different areas they're improving.
Yeah, the one thing about Jonah is he contemplates his game and he thinks about it after and he goes over it and works it through and
He
it's
could use a shot of confidence.
because he's got
And
the talent
yeah,
and the will to learn more and wanting to learn more.
sometimes it's how you feel about your position that determines how well the game turns out. Strangely enough.
And
Uh,
yeah,
Nicholas is still a raw talent, so we'll see what's going on with him.
and we're gonna move over to this game. This is board one in the under 1800 section. The only two players with perfect 4 out of 4 in that section. This is Sebi Meister, Sebi Suarez, playing Aaron Nicoski.
All the players are playing it close to the hilt.
And both players may be looking to. Now, the thing.
White's a little better here,
Yeah.
but
And I'm thinking both players would be satisfied with an even result. But let's see if one of these players wants to get a little greedy and just take first all to themselves.
yeah, I was. Is White threatening knight a5? Well, not yet. Not while Black has bishop b4 check. So,
And
but players still have to get their pieces out of the box.
game in 35 plus 2 is the time control here. And this was another game that I thought was going to be really fun to watch. This is National Master Rui Yang Yan playing Cal Berkeley's Nathan Fong. We switch the orientation here.
Well, these are two good players.
And I could tell in this game Nathan got penalized 7 minutes because he was a little bit late. So if a player shows up late, because these games are manually paired, when a player shows up late, we are able to subtract the time.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's what happened. Hello, Oli.
Hello, Oli.
Gonzalo from Uruguay.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
So, White has the two donkeys here, and Black has the,
Using the street chess lingo of Uruguay here.
This looks pretty balanced. I mean, maybe Black's even a little better at this point with the two bishops.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and joining us.
Way to go.
Long way. Let's go back to the top board and let's check out Lenderman and Mike Walder here. King's Indian defense, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Now, Lenderman, both players, I mean, this is probably even. And, it just depends on how the players play this out. I mean, Black has to get some counterplay, maybe based on pawn to d5. Still has to complete his development. White probably doesn't want to play e4, looking for favorable exchanges. White's doesn't want to play e4 because it'll block his bishop. So this, I don't know.
And as we start these final 2 rounds, we just want to give a shout out to Chief Tournament Director Judith Stare. She is in the back, pairs all these games manually, and working hard and uploading the standings and pairings, getting everything done, working the help desk. So thank you for all you do.
It's fantastic. She's one of the most amazing people I've ever worked with is Judith.
Oh, so. She's always innovative, always thinking, and just a workhorse, and just loves doing it for the community.
And that reminds me of you.
So we're all a good team. We're all a good team here.
Well, At least your chess is not on the line like mine is. Oh
Mine
gosh.
definitely is not on the line.
But
There,
it will be. We're fielding a team, a mechanics
oh
team,
my
right?
God, yeah, we have not announced that,
We've never done that.
but one of the things that we can announce is that yeah, I mean we pretty much all agreed, right? So
I'm in.
I think we're going to field a mechanics team, a mechanics staff team to compete in the U.S. Amateur Team South
Watch out.
with Grandmaster Nick DeFermian on board 1, FIDE Master Paul Whitehead on board 2, I'll be on board 3, and Judith Starry on board 4. So we're going to do
win
it.
the whole thing.
We're going to take down the South. So we'll be looking forward to that. So if you're the organizer of the Team South, that is Frank Guadalupe. There's going to be an entry coming from us shortly. So, and that'll be fun. Play, it's fun to organize the team tournaments, right? And while we're doing it, it's fun to see what's going on. But it'll be fun. I'm not going to lie, to partake in it. So yeah. Yeah, looking forward to that. Switching to board 2 here in Guseyanov and Griffith. And Paul, I will be right back shortly.
Sure. Yeah, so this is, you gotta like white, I suppose. It's gonna be small chances to win. But Black's bishop is not effective at all at g6, except for as just sort of maintaining the balance here. How white is going to make progress, I'm not sure. And white has played the mysterious rook to f1, perhaps to play rook f2, and then knight e2, knight g3. I mean, and then f4, f5. Yeah, Black's bishop is just a spectator in this position. But let's try to figure out a plan for white here. He's just played rook h f1. My guess is he's trying to play rook f2, knight e2, knight g3, and then f4, f5. As soon as white plays f4, though, black's going to play bishop e4, and then white will switch around to knight h5 or something like that. I mean, it's a slow position. So black is not going to stand still and wait for white to do all this. He's going to try to open the seat file or something like that. So active defense. I think passive defense would be bad in the long run. And so I like c5 based on that. And black needs a little active defense here. If white just is allowed to do everything he wants to do, it could go badly. Yeah, I mean, it smells like a draw, but Gusev doesn't know any better than to play for a win against Conrad. I think, he's a grandmaster, and he's used to grinding out these positions against our players in particular. I've noticed pouncing on small mistakes. He's not the greatest opening expert, Gusev, but boy, he sure gets the job done game after game. So he's waited for black to play c5. He's waited for black to play c5, and now he's playing rook to e1. Very clever. I mean, just, that black pawn now on d5 has no support. So now white feels that he can exchange both rooks. And black has got this minor weakness that's been formed on d5. Very, very small little maneuver there. Yeah.
So let me switch to board one. Thank you, Paul.
Mm.
And here we have Lenderman and Walder.
So the knights have been exchanged on e5, and white has an advantage here in space. The pawn at d5 is cramping. Pawn White playing pawns at d6 will always be a possibility. Still, after something like queen b6, is this so much for white? I'm sure black's going to play queen b6 here. Then maybe queen c3, attacking the e5 pawn, followed by queen c7, queen d6, queen c7, and rook c8. You know, that's not going to be anything for white.
And
So queen's...
Yeah, go ahead.
Queen's, yeah, no, I mean, so far Michael seems to be holding the balance here a little, you know. It's tricky.
Let me switch.
Hi, Alexi.
Alexi Root is in the chat as we go over to Daniel Lynn and Elliot Winslow.
Wow, White's Express opened the H file. And all he needs to do is get his queen and his rook over there. So it's still a long way away.
Trying to be the aggressor here.
Yeah. It's a game. White would like to get his pieces over there, but it's far from mate yet.
And
you know, black has b5, b4, piece play.
And checking in on Nathan Fong and Ruiyang Yan.
This is still a game. This is still both players trying to get their pieces out of the box. The struggle is around the d5 square, but black is not going to be in much danger of losing the d6 pawn. Black's development on the king's side is a problem here, and so black is going to try to play f5 maybe at some point, or b5, or knight b6, knight c5, queen a5. Lots of choices for black.
So what were you saying, Paul, about the Guseyanov-Kyron Griffith game?
I was saying that that this was a very, very White played rook f1, which was an interesting move. I think the idea was to play rook f2, knight e2, knight g3, and then f4, f5. And black didn't want to stand still, so he played c5, and then white cleverly goes over to the exchange of rooks now, because black has been left with this d5 weakness after c5. In other words, black, maybe c5 was... You still think black should be okay here, but c5 might have been a mistake. Very, very subtle mistake. If it, you know, just because it gives white a little something else to play against, and that's the d5
and with
pawn.
So many pieces off the board, you don't want to give that even the smallest little advantage out.
Yeah, and you know, it might have been better to let white play the rook f2, knight e2, knight g3, and then f4, and then play bishop e4 or something like that, and see how Gusenev was going to play that. But this is still, I think black should be able to hold this, but it's getting a little bit tricky now.
Let me just go back to board one and peek on that action real quick. Welcome everyone joining us for this round 5 of the Mechanics Institute Tuesday Night Marathon. And we're going to have a lot of action this weekend as the Mechanics Institute is organizing the 2021 U.S. Amateur Team West. And I just put the link in the chat. We are near 300 players. We got some amazing teams. It is not too late to join. So if you want to see all the players and all the teams that have signed up so far, just go ahead and click on that link. And if you want to register, get your friends together, play on the team. There is still time, and partake in the first of the 4 amateur team tournaments, the U.S. Amateur Team West, brought to you by the Mechanics Institute.
Well, this is, now White's trying to triple up on the C file. Maybe throw in Rook B4, and Lenderman's just kind of Rook H4. So White's got some control over the board here. And Black is going to have to work hard for the draw.
And this is a, in the under...
Both grandmasters are sort of putting a little pressure on here.
And this is in the under 1800 section. This is Andrew Ballentine against Reikastari.
Wow. Andrew uncorks knight f5, and Reika is on the ropes, I guess, here because of the uncastled king.
Yeah, it's got to go queen f8 probably, huh?
Maybe, or maybe queen d5 and sort of look over at the other side of the board.
Yeah, just...
yeah, like give that
very
whistle.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Give us sort of a whistle, right?
Very interesting move. We'll keep an eye on that game. And this is the top board in the under 1800 section. Sebi Suarez, the only 2 undefeateds in that section. Sebi Suarez against Aaron Nicoski.
So White has a passed H pawn now, and that's kind of significant. Black has sort of yet to. I mean, the position looks equal, but there's that passed H pawn that always, and some pressure here.
Wow.
By the Sebi Meister.
The Sebi Meister.
The Sebi Meister.
Let's do a peek in, because there have been some moves here in the Guseyanov Griffith game.
Good. Yeah. Okay, so we've got this situation where Black would probably have preferred that his pawn be on c6, but the rooks have come off, and it looks like this should probably be a draw, but White has the possibility. Let's see, what's White going to try to do? Play knight e2, knight g3, and then f4.
And in the chat, Oli's saying the endgame reminds him of a Sadie Fisher endgame. Do you know?
Well, that's very interesting.
Same pawn structure and same pieces, he says.
Was Fisher the... I mean, to me, it looks like White has some winning chances here.
I was about to ask you, like, if one side has the winning chances, who would it be?
Oh, it would be definitely White here.
Definitely
I mean,
White.
He's got... First of all, Black has a bad bishop. That's just... And then there's this pawn on d5. So... White also has the idea of maybe playing knight e2, knight g3, and f4, f5, or something like that.
And the idea of the bishop there being on g6, is that pretty much that it's preventing something like knight h5?
Yeah, it's preventing knight h5, but it's been unable to move. I mean, where can it go? If it goes to bishop b1, I mean, a3 is a useful move for White anyway, probably. So Black is just going to lock it up here and say, find your way in.
And is the more locked up it gets, that's more favorable to white. Yeah.
Yeah, A3 is natural. Um, and now white's going to try something on the king side, probably based on knight e2, knight g3, knight g3, f4, f5, or something along those lines. It still seems to me that Chiron is on the right side of a draw here. That it's more of a draw than it's, and f6 is a good looking move. It increases the power of the bishop, and white is going to find it hard to create an imbalance here. Still, the king can come up to f4, maybe. I mean, I can see a scenario where the white king, gets over to somehow gets to g5, and then pressure's put on the h pawn. If the white king can get over up into the king side, and then sort of, the game might start to resemble a game that Karpov beat Kasparov, a knight versus bishop endgame.
And Sobels is in the chat saying the more pawns that get traded, the harder it is to avoid a draw.
Yeah,
yes.
That could be true too.
Real quick, let's check in on this game on board 3. This is FIDE master Eric Yuhan Lee playing Tejas Mahesh. Eric Lee is white.
So black is saying, I'm not going to take on d5, and white is still enjoying some advantage here. It's still a game. Black takes on a5, which is a dynamic move, rather than just sort of wait and see what's going to happen. So white now has some weak pawns to work against, and the game proceeds. Black has some counterplay now on the b file, maybe, although I don't see that it amounts to that much. But
and let's check on this game between Jonah Bush and Nicholas Wang.
This is looking good for black. Oh, no, wait a minute. Black has sacrificed the exchange. Maybe he should sacrifice another one and play rook takes c4. Just to make it really wild.
Yeah, this is going to be... Nicholas Wang's used a lot of time.
Yeah, Nicholas is an interesting player. I mean, he really wants to sack and play chess that way.
Sacrifice and crush.
Right. Knight b6 is a nice move too. I mean, this looks good. This is a strong initiative for the exchange. I mean, black's already got one pawn, probably going to get another one on t5 now.
Hey, you want to see a fun looking position? Look at this game.
Although bishop a6, knight d5. Yeah, this is good. This is going to be good for black.
This is Elliot Regan and Matteo Hansen. And Matteo Hansen has sacrificed quite a bit to get to this. Is there anything?
Well, black wants to play king ha and rook g8. So what's white going to do? White can play f3 here. That would probably win. King h8, queen takes g2, rook g8, and white can just give up the queen for the... Then he has 2 rooks and 2 knights for a queen with an easy win.
Yeah, F3.
So F3 just wins, I think, here. If bishop takes rook, rook takes king h8, then white can just play into the corner, king h1. There's nothing. Black has no attack. I think F3 just wins.
We had queen e3 played.
That probably wins too.
All the
Yeah,
same.
I think black's just running out of gas here.
All right, let's go to board one and check in on Alex Lenderman and Mike Walder here.
Yeah. As usual, Michael gets in his counterplay with F5 here. He's not bothered to try to contest the C file, and instead has chosen counterplay with F5. But the problem is, okay, so now queen F6.
Wow, and we got
This is not easy for Lenderman unless the queens come off and then the C file wins.
Frant1C is in the chat saying he hasn't played a game since he was 13 as a 1650 player in Super Nationals in Kansas City. 20 years later, after not touching a piece, he wants to get back into chess. How should you start? And I think a good way to start is to join the Mechanics Institute online community, because we offer a variety of classes and online events and tournaments. And especially if you were a player that, was a skilled club player previously. And I know the feeling because I was 2000 rated, and then I left chess for 25 years and then came back. Play online, and because you can play a lot of games in a short time that way. And right now it's the only thing you can do in most places to build up that skill. So if you want to look into what the Mechanics Institute offers, we offer a lot for players of all levels. I'm going to put our website down. Just go in there and just check it out. And you could always send us an email for more information. But you can start off today by just watching the broadcast of the TNM and let that be the jumping point. And wow, Lenderman plays F4.
That's if the queens come off, then there's the C file. I think black is in a bit of trouble here. I mean, queen b6 might be the right move here. And if queen c5, trade, and then take on f4, and then play king g7, rook c7, king f6, I mean, it's possible that that's holdable, even though white has complete domination of the. No, it doesn't look good.
Let me jump to board two real quick because we're.
This is tough for Michael. I think. Yeah. So this is exactly what. If the white king can come around. If the white king can somehow get around, finesse itself behind black's position, black is going to be in trouble. And again, this is just the dominant piece here, the knight versus the bishop, all around. I mean, this could still be drawn, but look. So let's see. If black plays bishop b1, then knight h5 is going to force the trade anyway, and then white will be able to march his f pawn up, and black's h pawn is not a threat at this point. It's interesting to see Gadir just continuing to sort of press here with minimal amount of material.
He has a time advantage, but still plenty of time for Kyron with 9 minutes.
Yeah, no, I think Kyron. I think Kyron. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Let's take a quick
it's
peek.
going to be tough for Kyron. I think for a while here.
And moving back to Nathan Fong and Rui Yang Yan.
Wow, this is a got blocked on the king side. Hmm. I'm not sure who that favor. Well, it does mean that black can't play f5. It's just starting to look. I mean, all the play is going to switch over to the queen side, I suppose.
And she's got some tricky play here because even the bishop on f8 can open up and staring at a3, and if the pawn goes to b4.
I don't know. I think it's white for choice here at the moment, but that knight at c5 is black's good piece.
Keep an eye on that. Let's go back to board one real quick and see what happened here. And in the under 1800 section, Sebi Meister and Aaron Nicoski drew their game.
How about that?
So the two perfect scores in the under 1800 have drawn. So they will maintain at least a share of the lead heading into the final round.
Well, Michael Walger is busted here because he's losing a piece to d7.
Oh, yeah.
He can play rook d8. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is just a miscalculation, obviously, or something. I think his position was kind of poor anyway.
It looks like
King g7, pawn d7 doesn't work. So rook d8, but then rook d8. Then ugh.
But that doesn't. Can't you just take the pawn?
Yeah, but then black lives another. Yeah, the important thing was to prevent d7. So, but now white can take on e7 and then with the pawn, and then maybe bring after rook e8, bring king f2, king g7, king e3, king f7. Black still can't take the pawn on e7 because the rook bishop at c8 is hanging, so he's got to play bishop e6, and then he's going to rook takes b7. So
Whoops.
black is just on his way to losing here.
It just flipped. Going back to that game you were looking at, but let's go back and check on Kyron's game here real quick. This is the position. Flipping the. Oh, that's the correct orientation. And I have in the chat, in addition to all the rising young bucks, I remember the in-person TNM events having more than their fair share of old-timers. As I looked at the events, there are a lot of familiar faces. A number of regulars don't seem to have... Regulars, I wonder if you're kicking around here. Try to drag out some of the old veterans. That's a good question because we have some of the old-timers here. Of the mechanics regulars. So, like for instance, David Rakonitz is playing. Obviously Elliot and Mike Walder. Clarence Lehman is not playing the TNM, but he has played some of our weekend events, and he's played some of the events we've had from time to time. He was even playing in the arena, Paul's Arena earlier. But there are other players like Richard Ahrens, right? A lot.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, and I think it has more to do with the non-interest in playing online. And we've been in communication with some of them, right? Like Richard Ahrens has emailed us. They're just waiting for live play. to come back. But you're right. Can we do a more deliberate push to try to get some of the old veterans to play? Maybe that's something for us to really think about, because we're still a little while away from coming back live, and it would be nice to see some of the usuals come back and play, the ones we're used to seeing on Tuesday night.
So this is a very interesting moment here. If Chiron plays h6 check, king h6, king f5, knight e3 check, king takes f4, white, I don't think white can play knight takes d1 because of king f3, and I think that and Chiron is in some trouble here. If h6 check doesn't work, f5 check is going to cause some problems for black.
And two, because that doesn't f5 cover the diagonal, right?
Yeah, I mean, h6 check, king h6, king f5, knight e3 check. Okay, so that's not even. So white's going to play f5 check now, and then he's going to try to play king h6, and if after king f6, white still can go around, try to go around underneath to the king side, queen side. Here we go. This might just be losing. King f7, king h6, king h7, yeah, king e7. I think Chiron is just desperate here. Knight g4 is a very, very patient move. And Chiron's being pressured here on the clock as well.
And let's go back. Mike Walder still managed to stay in the game here.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what I said was going to happen. Black lost the B pawn, and oh no, actually, there's been an exchange. You still can't play rook takes e7 though.
Yeah.
And bishop e6 is met by rook c6, rook e7, rook a6. So it looks like black's on the verge of collapse here. a5. This just loses rook c6, rook e7, rook a6, followed by this is and now rook takes e6, rook takes e6, king f2.
Oh, look at that.
This has got to be a win for white.
Look at that.
Yeah.
A5.
Or that. And the king is outside the square of the pawn.
It is now, right?
Yeah.
Very nice win by Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman. Going back to board 2 here.
Michael just kind of could have put up more resistance, I think. That the middle game position was... Chiron, I think, is losing here. I mean... He's got to find a way to be able to use the H pawn to as a distraction.
To better position the king?
Or to win the F pawn. But H5 is just met by F6 check and king H5, I think, right? H5, F6 check, king F7, king H5, bishop F3, king G5, bishop... Black even loses the king and pawn ending there. So that's a funny line. H5, F6 check, king F7, king takes H5, bishop F3, king G5, bishop G4, king G4, king F6, king F4, and white wins the king and pawn ending.
Alexi Root's in the chat talking to Frantic. Alexi's saying she doesn't play bullet and she doesn't even have a mouse.
She's got a rabbit. She doesn't need a mouse.
That's right.
This is very, very bad now for Black, I think.
And
F6.
Kyron under 2 minutes.
Yeah. This is it just does white want to play F6 check? I mean, that might be the way to get the only way to, or knight C6 winning the A pawn. Probably not a good idea yet.
And Vishva saying knight C6 wins, and knight C6 has been played.
Is that right? Just simple as that, huh?
You're almost just going to pick off all those pawns on the white squares.
That could very well happen. That's right. Knight A7 is coming up. Not knight takes A5, but knight A7. It's even more damaging. Both are damaging here, I think. Domination is the theme of this game.
And very well played game by Guseynov in a position that looked even to us mere mortals, but
no, it was never even. It was,
and maybe it looked even, but it may never have been even actually. Yeah. Let me do a quick peek in on this game here between Nathan and Rui.
This game is not quite over yet, though. Guseynov still has some problems to solve. Well, now we could, Black is trying here. Is there a way in with, some kind of pawn A4 or knight A4 or something like that? But what's happened on the king side? Some pieces got exchanged.
Yeah, it looks.
Black has some chances with pawn to G4 maybe later on in the game. It looks like white's better, but Black has some chances here on the queen. Still very unresolved. And of course, there's the drawish possibilities as well. So, look at Black's bishop is just terrible.
What was Queen H6?
Maybe trying for Queen H5 or even pawn to G4, unleashing the queen.
Just getting in there.
Yeah. So this is, it's the dynamic possibilities that will keep Black alive here. Because white has a lot of advantages in this position.
And let's check in on this game. This is.
Let's go switch back to Chiron when you get a chance.
Let's go right to it right here. And Chiron,
that game is very close to the edge here. So Guseynov has some technical problems here, I guess, and he comes back with the knight. So now plays knight G4. So there was apparently not easy the other way, and he's trying to find another way to play it. Black had some chances in the other line.
And Chiron does not have a whole lot of time here.
So what Gusena's, a little worried, of course, about the black H pawn. There should be a win here for white, but not yet on the board.
And
So he's still trying to figure out how to exactly do it.
Kyron doing well with the resistance. And Eric Lee has defeated Tejas Mahesh on board 3.
Okay.
So
Well,
it looks like Eric Lee will be an opponent to one of these top boards. In the
I don't think Kyron should be able to hold this, but boy, if he does, it'll be really something. It'll be really something. And it's all due to the presence of that H pawn as a distraction. So if knight H6 check, king G7, F6, king F8, and then the black, wait a minute, that looks like a win. White king can just go king F4, king E5. The black king is completely cut off. What's wrong with that? Knight H6 check. Maybe king E7, and if F6 check, king E6. F7, king back to E7. Yeah, I don't see it quite yet. And I think Gusenev doesn't see it either.
He is spending a lot of time trying to figure that out, though, for sure.
Yeah, he's got various ways of making progress here. So now, okay, all right, this move. So king F6, knight G4, and then maybe king E5, but that lets the H pawn roll up.
Look at that, and Kyron's thought all of this out because he's blitzing out the moves. But
well,
here we go, though.
And he keeps going to E7, which is probably good. And now here goes H5, black's last gasp. There's nothing left. Does it work? Probably not. But what else does black have? Knight F6, H4. Oh, white can just play knight takes E4. So H5, knight F6, bishop F3, and then white can play knight takes D5 check, I think. Yeah. And white could even maybe play knight H5 check too. So knight F6, bishop F3, knight takes D5 check, bishop D5, king D5. Well, now knight takes E4 should be winning, right? Takes, king take. Oh, no. What am I saying? White's just working it out here. Knight takes E4, takes, king takes. Yeah, I don't see what black has here. This is now. White takes care of the H pawn and then just wins in routine fashion.
Right, just with that extra pawn.
Yeah. The protected passed pawn is just too much for black here.
There's nothing crazy here that...
I don't see it. I mean, B4, I guess, is the, White just goes underneath now, I think. King G2 rather than King H4. Because then black would just, well, that would work too. King H4, or it goes underneath. So black has the opposition. This is actually kind of funny here. Let's see. King F2, King F4, King E2, King E4. Interesting. Very interesting. The opposition.
Does this?
Look at this King E1. I guess this is a lesson in the distant opposition here. And now the diagonal opposition. I think white going to play A4 and then crawl around? Black will have to. Yeah, that's probably it. White's going to play A4. White's going to play King A2 and then A4 or some variation of that. But Chiron is making this interesting.
So the idea is to play A4, then the king's going to swing over to the other side.
But then black will play B4, and if white can't play take right there, black's going to then play B3. This is not easy all of a sudden. Amazing. This is a diagonal opposition, folks. King F4. Let's try to work this out. So, if white plays King C2, King E4, King B1, or maybe A4 right away, but then B4. And white would like to get a passed pawn, but he can't do it. He can't take on B4 and play A5. Or actually might be able to.
And Alex Lenderman is in the game chat of this game. He was previously saying that King F1 would have been more technical for white.
As a way of getting the opposition? Interesting, instead of King F2? All right. How does white get the opposition here? King D1? Or white can play B3 now. That might make a difference. Maybe not, though. Well, what is Alex saying now? There comes A4. Okay. Well, now... Okay, so black locks it up this way. Because the king's not on A2. Oh, he plays King A2. Very clever. Now King A3, King D3? No. G5, King C3, G6. That's no good. All right. Too bad, Chiron.
Yeah. Nice resistance there. He made him work for it. Made him work for it. That's for sure. But
wow.
Not Grandmaster for nothing. Gadir Gusainov gets the win against Kyron Griffith, and Lenderman gets the win against Mike Walder. Fantastic game. Let's switch to this game.
Those are two tough games for the hometown boys.
And it looks like Rui.
Wow.
Rui has the queen, but
and the two connected passed pawns.
But white has a rook and two pieces for it.
Look at those pawns on the king side, folks.
And Rui with 30 seconds left.
White has to find some plan here to attack before the black pawns go marching forward. This is some kind of everything is in in stasis.
And Yumbalini, Yumbalini is asking, can you get norms in this tourney? You cannot earn norms in any online tourney, but this tournament is USCF rated. And yeah, that was fun to watch, Kyron's resistance there. Because it wasn't easy. It looked like it should have been elementary, but not quite.
And I mean, gosh knows what's happening in this game. This is one of those games. Is white going to sort of allow the black pawns to move forward in order to, try to drum up an attack? Very dangerous thing to do, and white's doing it. So black can play g4 now, and black prophylaxis with rook f8, trying to play pawn to g4.
Rui can play fast. We do know that, but this is tough.
This is tough for white, I think. I mean, if you let these pawns run in, I mean, black is starting g4 now and with a vengeance.
Rui trying to make the most of her opponent's time.
Bishop f7 doesn't quite work here because of rook takes f7.
Now, are you going to be able to just roll the pawns down?
Bishop f7, rook f7, yeah.
This is going to be tough in that the two pieces can create a lot of...
I think white should have kept his rooks sort of passively placed, and it would have been too risky for black to play g4, I think.
But Rui getting a little bit of a reprieve here in being able to think about all the different options.
Yeah. White's been rash with this rook d7 and rook d2.
And let's do a quick peek on Elliot Winslow, but he is Elliot is up a rook. And is there anything here for
White's starting knight e5 check.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So rook f5, knight e5, rook takes e5, and then rook h8.
And Alex Lenderman is watching this game also.
So if rook f5, rook h6, maybe, I don't know.
Lenderman saying king e8.
Ooh, I like that. I like that, of course. King e8.
Rook f5.
It does allow the knight to come into e5. So he plays rook f5, the move I suggested. And so what is white going to play? g4 now? Oh, then rook h8. So what's going on? Rook e5 takes.
Oh.
And then rook h8.
That should be it. Right?
I think this was maybe even, unless we were overlooking something. Queen takes e6.
And Elliot Winslow wins the match there.
Yeah.
Back to this game. And Nathan has spent a lot of time. Now under 4 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's what the problem with banging out moves quickly and not thinking about what you're going to do afterwards. If you don't mind my saying so.
And Rui looks like she's thought of all of this because instantly plays h3.
Pass pawns must be pushed. So this is very slow for white to do this. I think white's kind of going off the rails here.
And did White need to do this?
Bishop to g8, but wow, does that work? Rook takes g8, rook f6 mate. So g5? Oh,
Wow, look at that.
king b1. Better play king b1, I guess. Or maybe you could play king h3.
Kimmy Lou's actually even watching this. Kimberly Lou's also playing in the U.S. Amateur West.
And that's it. Looks like black wins, making a new queen. Unbelievable.
And there's a comment in the game chat that White lost the thread, and that's sort of what you were saying. Just
Yeah, I mean, just had more time. I had a chance to work out some real sequences instead of just kind of playing like I did this afternoon. In other words, no thought whatsoever. Well, a new black queen is about to appear.
oh my gosh, there it is. What a nice little
That's a lot of black queen.
a lot of queens, and she's got 12 seconds.
Queen takes e4 check. Even queen takes d1 would win, I'm sure. Well, maybe. Yeah, 2 pieces for a rook.
There's a lot
Two
of
is an odd move.
a lot of fandom in the chat.
Too much firepower here. Too much firepower. And Nathan has been thinking a lot, but all in the wrong places. I think.
And what was once like a big dominant lead in time is now almost gone.
Dwindling. Is this the last game, the last major game?
No, the last major game, yeah.
Okay, so queen e3, rook h1 check is mate. So, oh, she falls. Oh no, rook queen h4. Queen for bishop.
And Rui is taking the.
Yeah, here comes another queen.
And she promoted twice.
Second queen.
Very nice win by Rui.
Yeah. A lot of great fighting spirit. Great fighting spirit.
Mike Walder, Rui is the queen. Like
right.
Literally. And Andrew Ballentine, Rui's in the chat saying she doesn't know how she survived it.
Had a lot of queens there.
Yeah.
In that game.
Tons of queens.
Was that the last game?
Let's see. And Judith, are there any more games going? Because I pulled up most of the games. Wow, check this ending out. This was Steve Gaffigan against Adam Mercado. That is that's an ending if I've ever seen one.
Whoa. Thump. Rook takes e6.
And
Gaffigan's a good player.
And Nicholas Wang got it done against Jonah Bush.
How about that? Wow.
And just
with an attack, with a mating attack, huh?
And just
that.
And just like we were saying before, SF Deals is still playing, says Sebi Suarez. So let's see. Let's see if we can.
Well, this is a very typical looking Nicholas Wang game. He's a really sharp player. Sebi says he finished playing.
Oh, yeah, he drew. And Judith says, one more game?
Okay.
who's the game that's still going? Okay, let's take a look at that.
Ethan's son and Rama.
Did that end? Because I just followed it. Yep, that one finished. So I think all the games are
Wrap,
done,
huh?
and shortly we'll have the updated standings and the pairings, and we will have round 6 at 8 p.m. tonight. We are not done with chess. We got more chess for you. And let me update the round in the stream. And everyone, if you are watching this weekend, we're going to have wall-to-wall coverage Saturday and Sunday of the 2021 U.S. Amateur Team West, brought to you by the Mechanics Institute. We're going to have 300 plus players playing, and if you
And we're
want,
going to be nagging each and every one of them.
I don't know about each and every one of them. Round 6. Okay. And if it's not too late to join the show, and if you want to partake in the action, and if you want to register a team, and you want to be part of all the fun that is the U.S. Amateur Team West, all you have to do is click on the link that I'm about to put in the chat, and you can.
And I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yep. And
Do you need to take a break?
after you get back,
Okay. All right.
and we'll wait for the updated standings and the pairings to come up. And we have some pretty strong teams in the West. Click on that link and see who's playing. The number 1 overall seed is a Mechanics Institute team that is led by FIDE Master Kyron Griffith on board 1. Board 2 is going to be Grandmaster Jim Tarjan. Board 3, Jonah Bush, and board 4, Chelsea Zhu. 2199 is the combined rating, the U.S. Amateur Team West. The 4-player team average has to be under 2,200. And we have a couple of teams from UC Berkeley with all their players. Might as well just read off some of the teams just so you know what we're dealing with in the Amateur West. The second seed is UC Berkeley A team with International Master Kesav Viswanathan, FIDE Master Timu Vertinen. Board 3 is WIM Ashrita Eswaran, and board 4 Junior Mejia for a 2198 average. The third seed is UC Berkeley's B team with FIDE Master Ryan Tagazadi, National Master Arjun Bharat, National Master Christopher Pan on 3, and Nathan Fong on 4. The fourth seed are the San Jose Chess Club Warriors, Grandmaster Andre Gorovets on 1. And then players that are very known in the mechanics community, Pranav Sairam, Abhinav Panagalapati, and Alan Finkelstein, rounding that up. Stanford University has a team. They are the number 5 seed with International Master Bryce Tiglon, WIM Emily Nguyen, Seth Taliansky, and Robbie Selwyn, rounding it up. And then the UC Berkeley C team, I am Joshua Sheng, I am Josiah Stearman, NM Michael Wang, and Trevor Stearman. And another team here that is probably one of the favorites for best team name. Tonight we're going to checkmate like it's 1989, led by Grandmaster Patrick Wolf. And then National Masters Andrew Metrick and Christopher Chabris and Caleb Meyer Chabris. And on and on and on. Check out all the teams. There are a lot more talented players, talented teams. Another team to watch that register, and probably also a favorite for best team name. We sneezed on the beat, and the beat got sicker, with Shreya Mengalam, Aria Hosley, Kimmy Liu, and Simona Neiberg. And they got their name from a popular song by Beyonce, I'm pretty sure. And we also have a Happy Pawn, a team led by WGM and former U.S. Women's Champion Jennifer Yu, and Dashe Lin, Guanan Song, and Harrison Barclay. So a lot of strong teams, a lot of local favorites. Check it out. U.S. Amateur Team West is going to be something to see. And the final round has been posted. So let's take a look at what we are dealing with in the final round. You can see the updated standings and the pairings by following this link right there. On board one, we have International Master Elliot Winslow against Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman. On board two, FIDE Master Eric Yuhan Lee against Gadir Guseyanov. Board three, Rui Yang Yan against Michael Walder. Board four, Nicholas Wang against Ethan Goh. And on board five, FIDE Master Kyron Griffith against Daniel Lin. You could see the rest of the pairings on that link I sent. On board one in the under 1800, Aaron Nicoski and Elliot Regan. And board two, Ethan Sun and Sebi Suarez. So those are the pairings. You can see the full pairings and standings in the link I sent. And yeah, Mike Walder gets to play the Queen, National Master Rui Yang Yan, who played a nice game in the previous round to defeat Nathan Fong. Round will start in 7 minutes. 7 minutes, so do not go anywhere. And we're pretty excited about this weekend. We're going to have Grandmaster Nick DeFermian and FIDE Master Paul Whitehead, and I'll be joining them to bring you all the action for the U.S. Amateur Team West. And it's not too late to join. If you want to register and play in the Amateur West and you got a group you would like to play with, go ahead and register. You can register as an individual player, and we can help place you on a team. So there is an individual option to register, and we'll help you find a team. So if you have the interest and want to get in on all the fun, it is not too late. I'll put the link one more time in the chat, and there it is. So check it out. And looking forward to all the action this weekend. We even have I am John Donaldson playing the Amateur West with Mechanics trustee FIDE Master Mark Pinto and a couple of their friends. So a lot of fun stuff going on here at the Mechanics Institute. And we're going to be the first of the 4 amateur team tournaments. I think the North is going to come after us. And then, no, the East I think comes after us, and then the North, and then the South. And we just revealed that the Mechanics Institute staff is going to participate in the U.S. Amateur Team South. So Grandmaster Nick DeFermian, FIDE Master Paul Whitehead on 2. I'll be on board 3, and Judith will be on board 4. So we are entering ourselves in the U.S. Amateur Team South at the end of the month. So look for us. And I don't know about the bottom 2 boards, but the top 2 boards are pretty tough. So that'll be fun. We have 4 minutes before the start of the final round, round 6 of the Tuesday night marathon. And props to Judith, who updated the standings, posted them on the site. She's getting ready to start all the games. And thank you, everyone, 40 plus for joining us. So hopefully we get even a few more. The games on the top few boards will be entertaining to watch, especially the Winslow Lenderman match. That'll be fun, as will the Eric Lee Guseyanov. That one I'm really, really interested in because Eric's got a lot of fight, and he can be relentless. So if anyone can put some resistance and some creativity in their play against Guseyanov, Eric Lee is definitely the man. counting down 3 minutes before the start of round 6 of the Tuesday Night Marathon. And if you look at the standings here, still Lenderman and Guseynov are in sole first with 4.5. Eric Lee and Elliot Winslow are with 4 points. And we have Rui, Mike Walder, Nicholas Wang, Ethan Gould with 3.5. So there's still time for people to move up the ladder, especially for a player like Rui or Mike Walder, if they can get a win. And if the GMs take care of their business, they can leapfrog and get into third place. So still a lot to play for. And Christian Clemens in the chat, like the Murderers Row. It's a solid team, especially when you have Grandmaster Tarjan on board too. So yeah, I mean that's going to be tough. It was funny because Jonah Bush was sent us an email because he knows that he's going to have an important job on board 3 because among the really top heavy teams, he's going to be facing the player that's like 2,200, 2,300, where his team is hoping if he can just even get a draw out of that. Yeah, it'll be fun. How's it going, Paul? Hey, I'll be back in 1 minute, and then we'll get started with the round.
Yeah, and Grandmaster Nick DeFermian and I will be providing commentary, trying to make sense of it all, and hoping that that the Grandmasters blunter and make their usual. No, they've been playing very well lately, especially in this tournament. It's just watching Gusenov and Lenderman sort of, give master classes in these end games is really, it's good for our players. They need to learn. Kyron, I feel for Kyron because he's been doing what was done to him today he's been doing to all the mechanics players, grinding out these small advantages. And yeah, and Abel and Judith and Nick DeFermian and Judith and I will be playing in the amateur team South as a team. It looks like we will be. I'll be playing board 2 and Judith will be board 1. No. Nick will be board 1. I'll have to brush up on some of my openings. Maybe I'll bring back the King's Gambit or the Goring Gambit or something like that and bring my chess into the 19th century. Abel, I was telling people I'm going to be bringing my chess back into the 19th century.
How's that?
For the
South?
U.S. Amateur Team South.
I mean, that'll be fun.
I got to get Nick to teach me a couple of opening tricks or something.
And we're waiting on Elliot to make a move here. Against let's go to Eric Lee playing white against Gadir.
Elliot's taking a whole minute and he's spotting Alexander Lenderman time.
He's trying to give him a false sense of security.
And who's king and queen? Is this Eric Lee?
Yes.
Ah. So Gadir's got himself a little game here. And both these grandmasters need to play for a win, I think, because what's the situation up at the top?
So Gadir and Lenderman are in sole first with 4.5, and then we have Eric Lee and Elliott with 4, a half point behind. And then we have 4 players at 3.5.
Wow. So Eric Lee has a chance to, try to take it to Gadir here. Bishop h6, I suppose. This is all book. Not that I know it.
And here is the top board here.
Abel, maybe there'll be a you and Nick will be playing the Alekine's defense at the same.
Well, I mean, I have to be careful because if I play the Alekine, it's like I have others counting on me also. So I have to. I mean,
and Elliot's the white side of this thing now. Okay, so it's a Philidor after knight f3. Lenderman is trying to get this end game that's marginally better for white, or maybe even totally equal after pawn takes queen d8, king d8. These grandmasters just don't mind the end game at all.
Going back to see how Eric Lee plays this.
And now knight d4. This is probably just, and now pawn to c5 for black, or maybe taking on b3. So Eric is probably all booked up, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, he's definitely booked up.
Both players are blitzing it out here. And so black's going to play f5. Very thematic kind of position here. I guess white's going to play b4 and c5. I'm not sure.
I remember when during the Tuesday night marathons, when Eric Lee would be playing and he would show up about 45 minutes early. He would be at the table in the meeting room booking up and preparing. So we know he prepares immensely for the game. So I know he knows book.
So what did Elliot play on e5?
Let's take a look. Knight f3, knight bd7, and then a4.
So we have a Philidor defense. And white doesn't need to play a4 yet. I would have just played the usual bishop c4 move. So, but a4 is a good move. And maybe black will try to mix it up. No, he just plays the old Philidor move, bishop e7. Yeah. So you got to like this for white. I mean, this is considered to be good for whites, generally. And white, it's all...
Wow, look at this. Let me flip over to the other game.
Sure.
The other top game. Look at this setup.
F5 and B4, very thematic. Both players are. It's hard to believe that this has not been seen before. Probably has been seen before.
They're calling it the King's Indian Samish Yates Pano formation.
Right. Now the problem for white that, and we've actually, I think we've seen Gadir in this position already once before. And the problem for white is that white didn't take care of his king safely. And white can't just keep his king on E1 for the rest of the game here. He's going to have to find something to do with it, like king D1, king C2, or something like that. So I seem to remember a game of Gadir with black, and white just kept the king in the center for too long.
Going on to one of the other top games in the section. This is Rui and Mike Walder.
Oh, wow. So this is a Sicilian Paulson with white playing G3. White has a minimal advantage in these positions. Solid for black.
And then the other game to watch that could determine third place is Nicholas Wang against Ethan Gould.
Wow. Well, this is some kind of Sozin.
Wow. Let me go to this game between Kyron Griffith and Daniel Lynn. Daniel Lynn played a Carol Khan against Kyron Griffith.
Good psychology. And he's a piece down. No. I'm sorry, he's not.
No,
I miscounted.
Let's go back to the beginning just to see how we got here, because this is. Oh wow, F3.
It's called the fantasy variation.
That is correct.
F3.
The fantasy variation.
Yeah. Boy, this is something I don't. Again, here we are on territory I don't know. I'd be scared to death playing this.
You would be in the deep water right here, huh? Out of the kiddie pool and into the deep waters.
Well, white's a pawn up temporarily here.
And we know for a fact that Kyron knew all of this.
Sure. Oh, yeah. But I'm not sure that he's gotten that much here. I mean, okay, black takes on D5, and white's a little better with the play against the isolated D pawn. And that's the opening for you. Get a small advantage.
And then back to Winslow Lenderman.
This is an odd way. I've never seen this, actually. Black playing knight B6 and knight FD7. That's a plan I've never seen.
Huh.
I've never seen that. Even though, I mean, it could be completely normal. So white often faced in these positions with whether to play bishop E3 or D5. A well-timed D5 move, you know, white's just going to sit here, move the queen up, and then the rook over to G1. And what's black doing with his odd formation of pieces? Gotta like white here. Definitely gotta like white. And if Ellie can just play quickly, and you know, Lenderman is trying to play something, fancy schmancy, newsy doozy.
Be a little loosey goosey and all of
Yeah,
that.
loosey goosey, whatever, you know.
And Eric Lee has castled his king by going king e2.
Okay. It's not as safe as it looks there. I mean, in a way, it looks safe, but I would put the king on c2. I would take the extra move and play king d1, king c2. But maybe the c file get open. And black is going to try to play c6, and we've seen Gusenev do this already in the past. Have this kind of thing in the past, so he knows how to play this thing.
And I wonder how much Eric knows this. I mean, he's got to know this to some extent
Yeah, yeah,
because he
yeah.
hasn't
But I mean,
expended a lot of
Gusenev
time.
is an expert on this opening. I don't think the king looks safe on e2, uh, and I think it's safer on c2. But
Taking a quick look back at board one here.
the loosey goosey game.
Yeah.
Oh
Knights.
yeah, the header needs to. Oh,
Oh, didn't I already? Oh, that header. Yeah.
we're in round 6, folks.
Are we round 6? All right. There's always one detail somewhere.
Look at Elliot just slashing out with his queen. He's saying to the grandmaster, "Go ahead, take my a pawn."
There we go. Thank you, Alexi. Because I updated it in the Twitch field, but not in the OBS. Lots to think about.
Lenderman might take on a4. I mean, since there's no direct attack possible. Queen h5 is so it's interesting. I mean, black was clearly going to take on d4. White could have taken with the bishop. White could also have played d5 and tried to sort of trap black up with his idea. And now is black going to take on a4? No, he plays bishop f6. And after rook d1, he's probably going to take on a4. Then he's going to say to white, "What have you got?" And it might not be that much.
Look at
Rook
this.
D1, knight takes a4. I'm not sure what exactly white has there.
Going on to this game, this is board 4 with Nicholas Wang and Ethan Gould. Nicholas is going for blood here.
Yeah, this is just his style here. Rook h4, h6, and then
Can you just take it? Take h6?
bishop h6, and I don't know. I mean, that's probably what he's going to do.
I mean, you have to play h6 here. Yeah, is this completely busted now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, black can take on d4.
Black.
It looks like white's kind of crashing through.
I mean, but you have. Yeah.
Has black played h6 yet? No.
No.
Well, h6, bishop h6, what? Knight takes d4. Black can always try to bail out with f5, maybe. and then run with the king. But
Whoa.
I mean, this is just wild as can be. It's the wild, wild
It's the
west. I
Wild
mean, we
West. There are
are.
no rules here, Paul.
And you thought he had to play h6, and look, he played rook d8.
Well, he's saying, you know what? Take that
I don't
pawn and
think that, I don't think that that's any good. I don't like it. I mean, white can defend the knight at d4 by playing c3 after chopping at h7.
think he's in a lot of he's in a situation. Let's put it that way.
And you can also play check, king f8, queen check, king e7, queen takes g5, g7, and that looks just winning. Knight takes d4, bishop g5 check. I mean, that looks like it's just over.
Yeah.
I don't know why black did this.
I think black didn't anticipate the bishop g5 check.
Very possible.
Yeah, it's a tough situation there. Checking on Rui and Mike Walder.
So black has to play bishop e3 or queen b6. Very Mike Walderish move.
Walderish move.
And we have a problem. What surely is an equal position, I think here. Bishop c5, queen c5. Maybe white should trade queens there. Queen f2. Very minimal endgame advantage. Maybe to white with knight a4, knight c5. I don't know. I don't think white has anything here.
Going back to Kyron's game that we were looking at. Material even, it looks like.
And white has a lead. To call this a lead in development is maybe stretching it a little bit.
He's going to look to grind
This is
it.
nothing. I mean, white doesn't have much out of this at all.
I think,
Slight space advantage, better king position.
I think this is the game where the action's at with Eric Yuhan Lee and Gadir Guseyanov.
Okay, so black's ready to sacrifice on d5 or take on e4, and then well, the threat is to take on e4 and then play bishop g4 check or something like that. Something giving on the, and Eric Lee is just like, show me.
Yeah.
You know, I guess f takes e4, and then knight e4, or yeah. Oh, I think white's collapsing here.
You think knight
Close
e4?
to it, very close to it. Bishop b5 looks strong, and then knight e4 and knight takes d6, maybe, if nothing else, or maybe knight e4 followed by bishop takes b5 check. I think white's just kind of in trouble here.
Yeah. Tough.
Oh, and now it's queen f1 mate. If bishop e4, bishop takes b5 check, king e1 is impossible because of queen f1. So he has to play bishop d3, and then queen takes d5. Oh, threatens queen takes g2 check. That's the end of the game. Yikes.
It's like, yeah. Well, as Eric ponders that one, let's take a look
Well,
at.
I don't see any way out here. Bishop takes e4, bishop b5, bishop d3, queen takes d5. Threatening queen takes g2 check with a vengeance.
And move to take a look at Elliott and
Yeah.
Lenderman.
So we know what Lenderman's thinking. If rook a d1, white looks great. He's centralized, and black then plays knight takes a4, and takes a pawn all the way on the side of the board. And white played that bishop b3. That's a sign that black has been successful in his opening, I think. And now the game probably is close to equal. I mean, Elliott plays probably a wise move to just defend the pawn at a4, but he probably doesn't have an advantage now, or he didn't get an advantage out of this opening. And now the queen's being hit back. I'm just not convinced that Elliott played this well enough.
Going back to board 2 here.
I think Elliott should have tried d5.
So it looks like Eric played rook a3 to give some support.
Well, he's avoided the worst. So what white's going to do, play queen c4 maybe, or queen b3, and then black will just take back on d6, plays queen b5. Guess it's kind of the same thing. This position's full of danger for white. This is not what white would have wanted out of this opening. Queen f5 and queen g4 coming, perhaps. And black is just clearly has an initiative here. Rook e5, maybe. Queen f5. So queen b7, queen g4 is just, and then queen g2. I mean, queen g4, queen f5 was just, I guess there was no way to stop it. This looks lost.
Yeah, it's feeling tight.
Yeah, this looks just lost. I mean, he's offering resistance, but at some point, black's going to find a way in here. Let's see how it's done, though. We always want to see how it's done. Queen h4, queen b7, rook f2 is probably decisive, yeah. So now queen b7 is met by rook f2 check, and the king has to go to where? d1. Eric is just going for it.
And Gadir seems to know what he wants out of this line here.
Okay, so king c1, rook e2 threatens rook e3.
Or rook e1. Yeah.
Rook e1 is kind of a threat. You can tell black is looking for a way in here. Rook e3 is very strong threat, followed by bishop h6.
Oh, there it is, yeah. Yeah, black seems to know what they want out of this.
How's Elliot doing?
Let's see if a move is played. Let's take a look at Elliot's game here. Lenderman plays knight d7.
King B1's a good move. So now Lenderman has the two bishops. Not easy, though. I like that move, knight c2, that Elliot plays. It's the idea of playing bishop d4, maybe. So, and also he's putting pressure on the d6 pawn. It's nice. Elliot's not going to go gentle into that good knight.
He's raging against the dying of the light.
Yeah, this is from now on. Our chess commentary is going to start getting sprinkled with Shakespeare and Thomas.
Oh my goodness!
Enough of this. Enough of this chess analysis.
Yeah, let's elevate the conversation. Look at this one. So, speaking of some resistance.
Wow. Rook takes d4. Black offers an exchange sacrifice. And black has so white didn't play the queen h8, queen takes g7 line that we were looking at. Yeah, and so in this position, I think white's saying, to be or not to be. Maybe rook f1 here.
Yeah. Threatening queen g6.
Threatening queen g6. Does black have a weird move like maybe rook f4? Rook f1, rook f4? Isn't that a funny looking move?
That is a funny looking move.
But it might work, isn't it bizarre?
Rook f4.
Because if knight f4, bishop takes e3 check. Doesn't look like it should work, but there's some extraordinary tactics possible, I suppose. Rook f1 looks strong.
Let's check one of the other games going on. This is Nitish Nathan, a Breathe Chess Always, against Arthur Liu for black. And Arthur Liu will be one of our tournament directors this weekend for the U.S. Amateur Team.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
We have 8 tournament directors that'll be monitoring Zoom cameras.
Wow.
For over 300 players.
Wow. Black's a little disorganized here, but could stand well if he can avoid g4 and some disaster happening on d6, or avoid the long diagonal issue. Wait a minute, this just loses, right? Bishop h6 and queen c. Oh no, you can play queen g7. Barely hanging in there after queen g7.
Let me check back in on.
No, then knight takes g6. I think this white wins with bishop h6. Wow. Fantastic. I mean, when he played king b1, I thought he was trying to hold it. He was holding on, but he's definitely giving Gusenev a game here. This is backed against the wall. These kids The threat is what? Rook h3, maybe?
Yeah.
Black can play rook f3, maybe rook e1. And if rook h3, rook c1, king c1, and then queen e1 and queen e2, and queen takes g4. So rook h3 is not going to work here. Rook c1, I guess you could play king a2. Rook h3, rook c1, king a2.
This is
Queen takes.
a weird position. Like this is.
White is totally on the ropes here, but can he play rook h3, rook c1, king a2? No, then rook a. Oh no. Well, wait a minute. Queen c7 defense, pawn e3 instantly. Plays pawn e3. So rook b4. It's amazing how fast the move came.
Yeah.
Pawn e3.
He was.
Defense queen f5 check. I mean, it's pretty strong move. Yikes.
I did not even see that.
So rook b7, queen f5 check, and then if king a2, rook a8 check, and yeah, white's gonna be busted there. So now queen f5 check. King a2, rook a8 check. That's disaster for white. King b3, rook, queen takes d5 check. I mean, it's been disastrous, but both players have mating attacks, but I think black is getting there first here. King a2, rook a8 check. King b3, queen takes d5. Oh, king b3, queen d3 check. It's gonna. I mean, black looks like he's mating white in a move or two. Force.
But then the thing too is that white has rook h4 check. So if black plays rook h8, what, rook a7?
No, rook a8 check, and then white has to play king b3, because if rook a7, you just trade and take on g4. So after king b3, it's hard to believe that white's not about to get mated here, but maybe he's surviving. I'm not seeing the mate yet. Queen d3, king b4, and there's not even a check.
Oh, queen d5.
Crazy. So queen d5. All right, that's more logical. King b4, and then black can actually play queen c5 check, trade, and then take on c1.
Oh, wow.
That would win.
Rook c4.
Yeah, because if king b4, queen c5 check, queen c5 check. So look at this. Wow. This is just phenomenal. I mean, rook c4, every move of white's has been forced. King b4 would have lost to queen c5 check, trade queens, and then the bishop at c1 hangs. So now what? Black can still play something like queen e5, and he's probably just stunned that he doesn't have a forced mate here. I mean, that's what I would be. I'd be like, where, okay, how can you do this? Queen D1, Queen D3, all these beautiful looking moves, but white goes King B4. And then what? Oh, wait a minute. Queen D1, King B4, Queen A4 mate. So Queen D1, Rook C2, forced. And then what? Then Queen D4 threatens Queen A4 mate. But then he goes back Rook to C4. The Gajir is still not able to calculate a forcing variation yet.
Wow. And
It's really amazing.
Rook G8. Now, can't white just play something like
That's a nice simple move, of course. Keeping the threat now is Rook takes C1,
what about like King A3?
threatening Rook H4 check.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if Rook A8, King B3. That's right. Incredible. King A3 is a great move. How does can black maybe play, King A3. I like it. I like it.
King A3.
And then queen takes G5, but then queen takes D6. Game is still alive for Eric. Not great. Probably queen takes G5. King A3, queen takes G5. It's amazing how he's been able to hang in there. Absolutely amazing. Gadir's probably shaking his head, just going, "How can this happen?" King A3 is a brilliant move, though. I like it.
Yeah, but then really, I mean, if King A3, then Queen G5, I mean,
maybe the rook comes back to B. The other rook comes to B4. Threatening rook takes H4 check.
That's true.
Maybe.
That's true.
And even queen takes G6 or something. I mean, it's, you still haven't checkmated. The white king is like incredibly resilient.
And Eric trying to figure it out. Well, he's thinking on this move. Let's check back on board one with Elliot Winslow and Alex Lunderman.
Very exciting game.
A nice game for the final round.
So, white has this weak pawn at B3, and black. White needs to get something going here on the D6 square. Maybe knight F3, and then pawn E5 or something like that.
Knight F3, pawn E5.
Well, knight F3 threatens the pawn on G6, and then maybe you could play pawn E5. Well, Elliot goes F4. I'm not sure about that plan, but it's possible.
Let's check real quick on Kyron Griffith's game here.
Still a game, an interesting game. Elliot's hanging in there, definitely.
Now, this game's going to be a little complex for.
White's putting on the Ritz here, I think. All right, so we're going to change everything to song and dance now.
we went for art and literature, and now we're going to change to music. Let's check in on this game because this has a little more action with
White's better in Chiron. It's gonna grind. One of those grind kind of positions. Michael Walder is castled on the queen side, really trying to make a. So this is better for. This looks good for black. Here. There, it looks quite good for black actually. Structurally, after just something like bishop takes e3, black is better.
and let's go back to this crazy game we got here.
Michael Walter is no slouch. His position. So he plays Rook Queen F7, trying to get some solace in the end game.
Well, the thing is if he takes the queen, he's going to go Rook H4.
Oh yes.
Oh no, he can't.
My goodness.
He can't do that. He can't do that because it's still pinned.
That's right. Blindness.
Yeah.
That's blindness. So Queen F7.
but the threat is still there.
The threat is still there, and it would force black to play Rook H1 or something. Wow, that's a resourceful move, and it's still leaving moves like Queen D3 and Queen D1 check on the board. This game is, I mean, Eric Lee is playing to win now, looks like. So Queen D3, is this now?
Yeah, but what about King B4? Then like what?
King B4 again. And then...
But then what? Like I don't see.
I'm not sure. King B4... Rook H1? No. How does he defend the H4 pawn after King B4? Help, folks, back home. Are we overlooking something? King B4. Bishop D. No, he can't move the bishop. Rook H1. Yeah, I guess Rook H1 is a hard. It does clear the way for the E pawn, but incredibly awkward. I mean, is Gadir losing the thread of the game here? I mean, this is just so complicated. King B4, Rook H1. What an odd-looking move.
And Rook H1 in the chat, says someone.
Yeah. Very odd game. It's turned into. It's just been an amazing game by Eric Lee. I mean, it's interesting that if Black had traded queens there, he would have to then have played Rook H1. So he plays King A2 instead. Is that safer? What about Rook A8 now?
That seemed a little strange to me.
Rook A7, Queen A. That just loses.
No, but what about if Rook A8, Rook A7?
Trade and then Queen takes C4.
Right.
Yeah, this is just a disaster. Why didn't he play King B4?
Actually, it's surprising, and even Christian Clemens is in the chat saying this exact same thing we are. I wonder if that just got overlooked. Because King B4, there would have been no checks.
Oh, too bad, Eric. Just too bad. That's it. That's the game right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Gustav gets a tie, gets a piece of first place now.
He gets a piece of the pie for sure, and nice.
After doing so well.
and just
This is hard to
king
understand.
a2, queen
King
d3.
b4 was a great move.
Now black is ahead by quite a bit, but I think king b4 there was
Oh,
more
black
hope.
had a move after king b4, huh?
Black can go
Oh,
queen
we're not using
d1.
the. If king b4, queen g1, and then queen h5. Hmm.
Uh,
No, you can't do that because rook h4
right.
check. Oh. He would have had to have played rook h1. But then, there's all kinds of moves
But
possible.
clearly king b4 would have kept the
Yeah.
game going. Well, congratulations to Gadir, who has
Yeah.
at least a share of first.
You have king before queen d1 wouldn't have worked because after rook h4 check. Wow. And does black really have anything after knight f5, gf5, queen g7, king g7, and rook goes back to e1? Rook a d8, king f2, rook d1, rook d1, rook e5, rook d7. I don't think so. Maybe a little, maybe slight advantage to black there.
Looking at this game between Nicholas Wang and Ethan.
Here, queen takes back. Well, let's see. King b4, queen d1 is not check. White can just go rook takes h4 check in that last game.
You want me to go back to that one?
Well, somebody's asking. I'm not sure.
Well,
No, no, don't.
moves have been played, so here it is.
No, we're talking about the game that was finished already. Gadir's
Oh,
game.
okay.
Yeah, now Elliot goes back, rook e1, black plays rook a d8, and then Elliot could go king f2. And if rook takes d1, rook takes d1, rook e5, rook d7, rook takes it. And that should probably be a draw. Oh, Elliot plays rook f4. That looks wrong. From the viewpoint of rook, that the rook is not well placed there. This is, although rook d7 now threatens.
Well, now he's threatening g4, right?
Yeah, threatens g4. Although if you could hardly call that a threat. The threat is really rook takes b7. So black's going to play b5, I guess. This rook f4 was an awkward move. So what's white going to do here? I don't think following up with g4 is the right idea, but it might be. Rook c7 looks good too, maybe as a more active move. g4 is a little exposing of the king. I like the idea of maybe playing rook c7 and going right after those queenside pawns. I wouldn't be so quick to play g4, but g4, black maybe bring the other rook over to e8, and then with the idea of, and Elliot plays it, so he's not listening to me.
He's listening to me, not to you.
So what about taking on a4 and then playing rook b8? That's what he's going to do, I think. Yep. I don't like g4. I think g4 was a mistake. So white takes back on e4, black plays rook b8, and then if white follows through with rook f5, then black trades and plays rook takes b2, and maybe we're still in draw territory. Rook a7, probably, yeah. Maybe Elliot's doing the right thing here. Trade, if he can, black's going to play rook b8, I guess. Rook f5, trade, rook b2, rook a7. How can white lose that? I guess he can. White could lose that.
But could white take with the pawn here? F3? F5?
Rook takes b2.
And then F6?
And then king g6.
Well.
And then maybe swing the rook back over to g4. Yeah, black. Yeah, it plays rook f5, but this is not going to be an easy endgame.
And because can't white play rook a7?
Yeah, after rook takes b2, rook a7. But I think that's not going to be an easy endgame. Rook a2, rook a5, king f6. Black is better. Black has a much more active king. He has the passed c pawn. That's not a good position for white. If white goes passive here with rook d2, that's not good either. Elliot's made a mistake by playing this into this. Very, very subtle mistake, but a mistake nevertheless. Well, let's see. Rook a7, rook takes b2, rook a7, rook a2, rook a5. Well, the problem is actually white's got rook c5, so maybe black is not going to be able to get that far. Reduced circumstances here might work in Elliot's favor.
Very interesting.
This is a very interesting endgame. And Lenderman is trying to figure out how to squeeze water from a stone here. So rook a7, rook a2, rook a5, and white is going to play rook c5, and black has got nothing. Now, white still, yeah, black has to prevent rook c5. He had to. So now there's still the possibility of black playing c5, king f5, and this is a great move by Lenderman, rook c2. Just really nice move. It prevents white's only clear shot at a draw with rook c5. So black can play c5 now, and
like how good are Elliot's chances to hold this?
I think he's probably, I mean, theoretically, this is probably a draw, I would imagine. Lenderman just needs a little more something. But, I mean, this is still winning chances for black.
Now, the only thing I don't like is Elliot's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Do not like that at all.
So c5, I guess, but white can just put the rook behind the pawn, and then black still has winning chances, because maybe the c pawn will cost white the rook. White is rook at some point, and then the h pawn will not be able to queen. This is what Lenderman's hoping for. He's gonna push that c pawn really fast here, I think.
Let's check in on Kyron's game. Daniel Lynn.
Rook c5, rook takes f5. That's interesting. I did too. Oh, wow. Well, Kyron's got to be winning this now with the outside pass pawn. Although it's tricky. It's going to be tricky.
Let's check another game still
H5
going.
maybe.
Mike Walder offered Rui a draw.
He had the better game earlier.
She declined it.
I think black is better here, maybe a little better. So she's taking a chance. Mike just probably doesn't feel like playing here, but to my mind, it looks like black is better.
All right, let's go back to the top board and see if Elliot can work this one out. Does not have a lot of time to do it, but let's see if he can do it.
So if Lenderman plays rook a4, rook takes c6 check, king f5, and then rook h6, and each side will have a pawn. Well, that will be a draw. Elliot proves to be a tough customer, because if rook c2, then white is just going to push the a pawn. So, and white's rook is just active enough. We're finally seeing a nice active rook. King g5 is clever, very clever. I think white can play h4 check here, and to force the issue. No, then rook h4. Then rook takes h4.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. White is very, very. I mean,
and if Elliot's able to hold this game to
rook
a draw,
c7, rook c7 here. I mean, what does king g5 do after rook c7? Nothing. Yeah, the rook h6 idea. As long as white doesn't lose both pawns. But I mean, doesn't it looks like black has a chance now with rook a5 to win a pawn. Why didn't Elliot play rook c7? I don't know. It looks like Lenderman can maybe win a pawn with rook a5.
played
f6 maybe, too. Elliot didn't have to do this. He could have played rook c7 instead of king g2. There was no way for Lenderman to make progress. Still should be a draw.
Well, especially now, because now the rook and
why
the king
didn't he? Yeah. So Lenderman has a pawn here. And he's going to torture Elliot for a long time.
especially a low on time with Elliot with 46 seconds.
Yeah. This should be a draw. I'm almost 100% sure this should be a draw. So Elliot's putting up a third line defense here. Let's see how that, and that looks like a good plan, actually. It's gonna, like, how are you gonna get me past the third line?
And we're at a critical point. We're going to stay here on the top board.
Okay, so I don't think white wants to play h4, but he does. And now his king's trapped over on the H file. Very, very strange play. Of course, black still has to make progress. Probably can't do it just with the king and the F pawn alone. So I don't know. Yeah, this is just a draw. Elliot might have seen this in a book or something. And the white king come back out again with king g3.
And let me check in on another.
That was clever of Elliot.
And Elliot sort of has this down, right?
Elliot knows some endgame stuff down, like you said. He knows how the horsey moves.
He sure does. Well, he's got to know how the what's the rook?
What is the rook? I was going to say he knows how the donkey moves. And Lenderman is trying again. King g2.
In the under 1800 section, board one, Aaron Nicoski and Elliot Regan drew their game. So Aaron's got 5 points. Sebi Suarez has 4.5. He's in this position here. He is up a pawn. But if he could find a way to win this game, he would take sole first place. But it won't be easy, number one, but he's sort of in the driver's seat to...
Yeah, for sure. White trades queens, white could lose.
Make something happen.
Yeah.
And checking real quick on Rui's game here with Mike Walder.
Sebi Meister. The tower. The rook is the tower.
The tower. Did they just say in the chat?
So now, now black, this is exactly what I was talking about. Black is has this positional, advantage that he's had throughout the game. Knight d5 check? Or is white going to take d5?
Wait, let's go back to board one. Because looks like Lenderman found a way.
Isn't that often the case?
Yeah, let's go back a few moves here.
Oh, the white king is all the way out of position.
And here's where we were.
Uh-huh.
I think that might have been the move there, maybe. Yeah.
Very, very clever.
And now it's cut off, right?
Right. Wow.
And Kyron Griffith got it done in his game. He won his game, but congratulations.
Kyron got that done. Wow.
So we'll stay. Nice. Sebi over here. Lost. Sebi's trying to get first place all to himself here. He's gonna have to do it the long way, but
black has some winning chances here for sure. I'm not sure about f4, but then And now this is queen g4, king g4, king g2, king f4, king f2, king e4, king e2. Black is winning with queen g4 check.
Didn't do it.
Doesn't do it. The opposition. would have won. I mean, the
Oh,
king of pawns.
but now it's over, right?
Oh yeah, well this is the same thing. Why does white go into an endgame? Black trades and plays king e4, king e2. Oh no, it's a draw.
Was that misplayed? Because I feel like he could have gone queen back in the other back in this position. He
He could have played queen g4 check, I think.
or queen f3. No,
Let's go. Let's see.
in this position, queen f3.
Yes.
Yeah, and so now we're here.
Yes.
We're here.
Wow.
So I think queen f3 he missed.
Yes. And if king e1, e4. Yeah, so this is just a draw.
Oh, tough
Wow.
one. Tough one.
Wow, Sebi Meister. Remember the endgame.
Endgame lab.
The endgame lab. Opposition.
But congratulations anyway. He got he'll tie for first.
Yeah, fantastic.
Back to Rui and Mike Walder. Looks like he got a pawn.
Well, white's got some serious stuff here with rook c6 check, maybe, and then doubling rooks. So what is black going to do about that? Rook d6 looks weird because white can go rook c8. But then maybe king b7 is good. Oh no, then double rooks. So
What do you think she's trying to do here?
and she's trying to double rooks and
Get behind.
create a mating attack.
Yeah.
This is a little awkward for black. Black needs to calculate some variations here, because like if rook f4 doubles rooks, rook g4 check, king f2, rook f4 check, king e3. I don't know. White's threatening like rook b8 check and then double. I don't think black has time to take the e pawn. Maybe rook b8 check. Maybe black can do that. That pawn of b4 is going to contribute to a strong white attack. Yes, go for the b pawn, maybe.
Yeah. I mean that is the way out of this, right? Like rook b3.
And then doubles rooks. Rook takes b4. Rook b8 check, king a5, and if rook a8, rook a6, right? And if rook c6 takes, check, king goes back to b7, you take on, yeah, he did it. And if rook f6, a3. So this is the right move, I think. That's tricky, of course, king a6. What is she getting here? Rook c1. Then rook b4. I think king f2. What does that do? I think that she's just lost. Doesn't do anything.
She's just trying to like activate her king.
Yeah, not lose too many pawns and keep the game alive. That's what's going on. Right. She realized all the forcing variations are lost, so she's just trying to sort of hang on for a while. Because losing the e4 pawn and then the d5 pawn would have just been... Now at least there's some chances by bringing the rook into the game. I assume Elliot lost.
He did. Yeah. Congratulations. It seems like Grandmasters Alexander Lederman and Gadir Guseyanov will share first place in
Wow.
the
You
TNM.
can't keep a good grandmaster down, you know?
5.5 out of 6. They're half-point blemish coming against each other, but I mean they have to survive the challenges that they faced, and they did that tonight.
So black should play king a5, trying to play king b4 here. White's last chance is going to be to play rook c1 and rook c6. So maybe black should play b4. I don't know. Oh, no. Risky. Very tough. King a5, rook c1, king b4, rook c6. Michael goes straight for a3, huh? I guess still rook c1, no, rook a1, but now king a5. I would have played king a5, king b4, but this is probably enough to get the job done. I mean, if white's just doing nothing with rook a1. Now rook b2 check. King a5. I would have, the black king's position still bothers me. I would have gone, I would have tried the other way.
Oh, and now can she play rook a6? Oh wow, Mike played that one.
I mean, what's white doing here with this move? Just losing. This is hopeless.
Yeah.
Michael Walter can play a strong game of chess, I'm telling you. This is one chess player you cannot underestimate. He underestimates his own positions. That's the biggest problem. Offering draws in better positions, which is what he did again today.
And Christian Clemens is saying the whole endgame has been a masterpiece. Reminds him of some of his Capablanca games.
Well, this is almost comical here if it wasn't so true.
And nice win by Mike Walder there.
Really?
And
yeah.
And with 4.5,
a guy that can beat anybody.
I think he shares a tie for third with Nicolas Wang.
Wow! Congratulations.
If he won, actually, how did Nicholas do? Looking at the results.
Congratulations, Michael Walter.
No, Nicolas Wang and Ethan drew their game. That one game with the attack on the king side, that game ended up in a draw.
Uh-huh.
I thought
How about that?
I thought that was going to be
So did Michael Walter take clear third?
It looks like he did take clear third.
Amazing.
And was that the last game, Judith?
A full point behind the two grandmasters, right?
Yeah.
And yet a half a point ahead of everybody else.
And we should have the final
unusual result.
The final standing should be updated very, very soon.
Very impressed with Michael lately. If she had taken the draw, though, I would not have been impressed. He had a better position than he thought.
There might even be one game still out in the lower section, but I think all the games.
Congratulations to All the prize winners.
Yeah, the last board in the low section is still going.
Who's on that board?
Comfy Queso. That's the screen name.
Let's take a look at it.
I'm going there.
Yeah.
This is it right here. This is the final game.
Well, folks, White's better.
And
In fact, White is so much better. He's comfy queso. And both players have very little time.
and I'm looking.
And I like White's technique here. Very, very straight from the book. No shortcuts.
Yeah, and this will get done. I was looking to see how many moves.
It will get done. But White knows how to save a tempo,
Right.
or lose a tempo rather.
Boom! There it is.
One of the keys.
The Tuesday night marathon is a wrap,
Wow.
and we'll have the final standings soon, and
Very cool.
everything posted.
Very cool.
Great tournament, exciting games. We know Lenderman and Guseyanov share first place. It is looking like Mike Walder's going to have sole third place. And then in the under 1800, Sebi Suarez and Aaron Nicoski are going to share first, it looks like. And there may even be a chance that a player will catch them to tie for first if Elliot, Andrew, or Ethan won. Let me look at that. And no. Andrew Ballentine could have caught him, but Ayan Zaman beat him. So
Wow.
we shall see. Final standings.
Thanks everybody for hanging with us. Great chess, and it's fun watching these grandmasters, and we get a lot of these kind of technical master classes. Watching this stuff, it's fun.
And it was interesting for me, and I think for a lot of people, to see that game between Kyron and Guseyanov. That even though it looked like he was up a pawn and it was a passed pawn, he was sort of using the opposition to create some problems. And thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the stream. We're just trying to call it like we see it, like we were in the skills room.
Like what we were talking about.
Oh, perfect. First time watching us. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael Walter just keeps playing into strength. He's really been doing well lately.
And we have the final standings up. Let me see if you can see that in the stream. Pulling it up. There we go. Let me minimize my ourselves actually.
Yeah, get ourselves out of the picture.
Yeah, so you could see.
And Eric Lee had a good tournament.
Yeah, it was nice to see him back. There we go.
And Kyron took two buys, so
He did.
it's hard to sort of figure out what went on there.
But those buys were worth it because he got his second IM norm out of that. So all of this is tentative, pending a fair play review. But you can see that Alexander Lenderman and Gadir Guseyanov at 5.5, clear full point ahead of Michael Walder, who takes third. And then in the let me scroll down. In the under 18, it was Aaron Nicoski and Sebi Suarez. And then at 4.5, tying for third was Elliot Regan and Ethan Sun. And that is it. Those are the results.
Wow, Sebi, congratulations. You're definitely an up and coming player.
And everyone, first of all, we have to thank the extraordinary tournament directing and organizing of Judith Stare. Starts all the games, uploads the standings, the pairings, does everything. And thank you. Another fantastically run tournament in the books. And thank you, Paul, for the commentary and for the wit.
I hung in there.
Hanging
I
in
hung
there.
in there.
And everyone, another plug before we and Kyron's in the chat. Hello, hello. And Kyron saying congrats to Sebi. Sebi's going to be coming after you pretty soon, Kyron. So that's a good thing. These up and comers keep you on your toes. And this weekend, everyone, if you have not registered and you want to partake, the U.S. Amateur Team West, we are organizing it. It is happening this Saturday and Sunday. If you want to see who has registered, I am putting the link in the chat. We're going to have well over 300 players in the tournament. You can check out who's registered. Kyron Griffith is going to be board 1 on the top seed. On board 2 on that team is Jim Tarjan, Grandmaster Jim Tarjan, and then Jonah Bush on board 3. And
what's the name of the team?
They're coming up with a name. So, Kyron, if you want to name the team, let us know. Right now, we put it as a placeholder. We just put Mechanics Institute, but creative names are always welcome. And a lot of tough teams. Tough teams from UC Berkeley in there. Tough teams from Stanford and Caltech. Yeah, brainstorm, and then we'll update the team name. Something good. And then
Mechanics Monsters. That's my.
We have the Junior Mechanics 2021. That is a team that's in there, and that's FIDE Master Jason Liang.
Oh, cool.
On board 1, and then
we'll have to follow him.
Well, definitely.
Sure.
Board 1 is Jason Liang. Board 2 is Ruiyang Yan. Board 3 is Nicholas Wang. And
fantastic.
Board 4 is Kevin Su. So we have a lot of mechanics on the Junior Mechanics team. And then other team to look out for tonight, we're going to checkmate like it's 1989 with Grandmaster Patrick Wolf. And then 2 of his National Master buddies, Andrew Metrick and Christopher Chabris. And then Caleb Meyer-Chabris. And John Donaldson, former MI chess director and captain of the U.S.
What's his team called?
It's called The Factory.
The Factory.
He's on board 1, not the Glue Factory, but The Factory. And then board 2 is FIDE Master Mark Pinto, who's a mechanics trustee. And then we have a women's team here. We sneezed on the beat, and the beat got sicker with Shreya Mangalam, Arya Hosley, Kimmy Liu, and Simona Neiberg. And
nice.
All kinds of top players. The Stanford team, Bryce Tiglon is on the team. For Berkeley, we have Josiah Stearman, Joshua Sheng, Timu Virtanen, Ryan Tagazadi, Arjun Bharat, Kesav Viswanathan, Team Ashrita Swaran, like everyone, they're all playing. So
everyone's playing.
There's going to be a true West champion, whoever wins this, because it is not easy. So, and WGM Jennifer Yu, she entered a team into the Amateur West.
Fantastic.
So
who's on her team?
It's she's on board 1, Jennifer Yu. Board 2 is FIDE Master Dashe Lin. Board 3, FIDE Master Guanan Song, and then Harrison Barclay, and they have a 2083 team average, so they'll be tough. So yeah, a lot of action this weekend, and we are bringing you coverage of all the rounds starting at 9 a.m. this Saturday.
Be
And
there or be
be there
square.
or be square. So until that time, thank you everyone for sticking with us, following us on Tuesday nights. We love being here. One of the things we're really proud of is we really believe in the power of chess to bring communities together, and uh, we're happy that we've been able to do this for almost a year in our through our online events and through our organizing of other events, and almost a year in, uh, nothing could make us more happy that our mechanics community comes together on the Tuesday nights, and and for our other events, and we've stuck together, and we're gonna beat it this year, and we'll forever be proud of that, because it's been a challenge for a lot of people, and I'm glad for all the history that the Mechanics Institute has, we've been able to preserve that and keep everything going. And the viewers we do have, I think we're gonna send them to Daniel, because he's been fantastic to us. So enjoy Daniel Naroditsky, and we will see you this weekend for the U.S. Amateur Team West Championship. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Good night.
Good night. Enjoy Danya.